today. And I'm going to navigate to Supervisor Studies. Come on. There we are. And I'm going to go into my March webinar. I'm going to choose questions. And I'm going to navigate into Q8 for Ascribe Coder. Again, I'm using Chrome. So you'll notice that in Chrome, I do not have access to review responses or code this question or phrase analyzer. Because again, those tools are only available through Internet Explorer. They are not multi-browser compatible. Okay. Here we go into Ascribe Coder. A little bit about the general layout of the screen, and then we'll actually get into the Codebook toolbar today. Okay? So again, Ascribe Coder was created to mimic what's in review responses. You'll have your Codebook over here on the right side of the screen. We'll be returning responses on the left side of the screen. So Codebook responses. There is a resizer bar in the middle of the screen. So if you've got longer codes, you can make it, make the Codebook take up as much of the screen as you want, or as little of the screen as you want. And that is sticky, so it's remembered from session to session. Okay. In the middle of the resizer bar, there is a button that allows you to close the response pane, so that if you were just editing your Codebook, you could just focus on the Codebook by clicking on that the little toggle button in the resizer bar. Okay, so toggle it open, toggle it close. When you hover over it, you'll see close and open. The question information does appear at the bottom of the screen, and this question information will show you information about any of the questions from shared codebooks that you're showing in your response pane. And you can minimize that, again, by clicking on the toggle button or open it or resize it so that if you want this open all the time, you can have it open all the time. And when you toggle it, notice that it does tell you, say, questions here. All right. The left side of the screen, again, is the response pane. The response pane toolbar, the first item in the toolbar is the navigation icon. When you click on that, that gives you all of your navigation destinations, so anywhere that you want to go in Ascribe. You'll notice that this is kind of like our main menu, our main right-click menu in review responses, because our right-click navigation is no longer available in Ascribe Coder. And as the software is being rewritten to be multi-browser compatible, we're moving more towards this type of setup where we have a navigation icon to go somewhere else in Ascribe, and the right-click navigation isn't prevalent. All right. Above our response pane, we have our response tools. We went over those last week. But just the one thing to say here, too, is that we then have our tabs. Which mode do we want to code in? We've got code multiple responses and code one respondent at a time. Most of the demos that I'm doing, I am doing multiple response mode. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about the actual code book. And the first thing to note is that yes, the code book can be locked and unlocked. But I'm going to mainly focus on the tools that are available in the Codebook pane, so the Codebook toolbar. And I know in a lot of the sessions we talk about what we can do when the Codebook is locked and unlocked, but the first thing that I'm going to do here is actually talk about search. And the search option, and I've got mine, I've got this there we go. I had it minimized. The search codebook option allows us to search for codes in our codebook. Okay? So what we can do, and I have this set up to find all, so it'll find all of my codes. But basically, what I can do is search for a code in my codebook. Okay? When I search for just other, it finds the first other. I hit enter again, it finds the second one, the third one, so on and so forth. All right? I can have it match case or match the whole word, you know, so if I wanted to make sure that it was matching the whole thing. But one of the things that I like here is that you can find all. So if you're looking for a certain code in the code book, you can select Find All and hit Go, and it's going to find all of those codes that have that word in the code book. And this might be helpful for if you're searching for other, or if you've got a very large code list, then you know, I've got to find the codes that have a code that has this word in it. So this is the search code book. It's similar to the find in the single response coder interface today. I just wanted to make sure that I had gone over this. You can minimize this search code book, and you can place it anywhere on the screen that you want. And then when I close this, it brings back my entire code book. If I hit search again, it brings it back up, and I could just hit enter to do that again. Okay, so you might want to play with this, figure out how you'd like to see it work, and set it up to work the way you'd like it to work. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close that up. So that is the search or the find in the code book. All right. The second option we have is our print option, and this allows us to actually print our code book. And there's quite a few options here. The ones that I usually go over are the last three. We've got it where we can print it to an Excel spreadsheet, we can print it to a Word document, or we can create a Word document for all the code books in the study. Okay, I'll go ahead and do an Excel spreadsheet. And open that guy up. And when you print the code book, it does respect what you're actually showing in your code on your screen. Come on, open up. There we are. So it's telling us the level, whether it's a net or not, the output ID, the description, and the count and the percentage. Okay, for just my current code book. And again, it does respect what you're showing on the screen, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to settings. So, or I guess I could just go ahead. So if you wanted your regular expressions to be in your list, then you would want to show your regular expressions. Okay, so it respects your settings when you export or print your codes. I do like to call this export because really you're saving a copy of your code book, right? You're exporting this code book. Of course, then there's the Word document, kind of the same thing. Just it respects what you've got on your screen. And then you can do the Word document for all code books in the study. And if you do the Word document for all code books in the study, what it does is it creates this Word document, and this is a fast way to spell check all of your code books at once. So you could kind of go through and spell check your code books just to make sure that, kind of a final check. And it does all of the codes or all the code books in your study. It gives you, again, everything that you've got showing on your screen. And what I wanted to do was scroll down here. Where is it? Oh, maybe I don't have a shared. There it is. And notice that this code book was actually shared. So what it does is lists all of your questions that were shared, so Q11, Q11 under bar 1 through Q11 under bar 6, and it gives you the count and percentage for all of these. That's why they're all in red here. So that's the option to export or print all of our code books in the study. Okay. All right. The next option here is our settings. In the settings, the first tab lets us choose the settings that, that will apply whether the code book's locked or unlocked. Okay, so do we want to see our input ID or not? And notice input ID and output ID are both in italics. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. So if you are showing just your input ID, you want to be aware of what you're showing there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. For those of you that use dimensions, you can also show your code ID or your CB underscore ID. That's probably only necessary for those of you that use dimensions. And then, of course, you can see your regular expressions. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do, is that your regular expressions actually do allow you to do a quick search, and of course there aren't any there, to do a quick search through your responses for yeah, a quick search through your responses for anything that matches your regular expression. So in this case, I did have two that had the word winter in them that are uncoded. Okay, so when you're showing your regular expression, it's a quick search for that particular regular expression. Okay, so there we go. That's our regular expression. And then also our counts. I usually have the counts turned on, and just to let you know, the counts that are shown is, or the percentages that are shown, it's the percentage of this number. So it's the percentage of our response base, which is 348 in this case, not the percentage of what's been coded. Okay? So the percentage of what's been coded, if you want to see that, then you would actually want to click information, and you could see the percentage of what's been coded. It gives you the details about this particular code. So you'll see that down here it's the percentage of the responses, then the percentage of the responses coded, and the percentage of the respondents in this particular study. All right. So again, this is what we can show on our codes. We can also show the input and output code value on our nets if we like. All right. And we can show the hover help or the long help if there is any long help. And let me quickly create some long help so that we can see what that looks like. So notice when we have long help, we get this little eye, and we click on it, and it tells us about our code. When we have hover help, it just shows us what the hover help is with the little light bulb. So all of my nets have hover help here. And you can see that with the little with the little light bulb. Oh, wait a minute. The eye is actually the hover help. That's interesting. So yeah, that's the long help. The long help is the light bulb with the circle around it, and the hover help is the light bulb without the circle around it. Okay. There we go. We also have some when locked options. So when the code book is locked, we can actually show borders if we like. We can add a selection checkbox to our codes. And now I want to talk a little bit about the selection checkbox. I know I've talked about it over here on the response side of the screen. But some of us are finding it difficult to remember to select a code. We need to kind of go out to the right or to the left with the double arrow. If we turn on the selection checkbox, we kind of know that to select a code, we would click, or toggle on the selection checkbox. Okay? And why would I want to select a code? I'd want to select a code to right-click and show responses that were coded in this code, to do the search any. I'd also want to select a code if I had on my Apply Selected Codes button, because what that Apply Selected Codes button does is it allows me to select codes and then click the target to apply those selected codes. Okay? So lots of different ways to code or to set up our screens in Ascribe Coder. The selection checkbox is, again, just a more very, you know what you're doing when you click that box there. And that's the only way that you can select a code, when you have the selection checkbox turned on. The information button just provides the information button for every code in our code book. All right. Icon tooltips allow us, when the icon tooltips are on, I believe, yes, what it does is shows us information when we hover over an icon. All right. And then hover help tooltips, when we hover over, it actually does show us the hover help if hover help exists. And I usually work with most of those off. Then we also have, when the code book is locked, a codes only view. And the codes only view allows us to view the code book in a different way. All right. So if I want to view my code book sorted by, let's just say, description, without my nets. So when I do show codes only, my nets are hidden, and my codebook is sorted according to the drop-down box here. So now I'm sorting my codes by description, so they're alphabetically by description. But I might want to sort them by frequency. So now they're sorted by frequency, and I might want to reverse sort by frequency. Okay? So this kind of quickly lets us see, which codes have been used, which haven't, and it's, again, just a view. Okay? Notice when I'm in Show Codes Only view, my top node, my codebook node, is not displayed. All right? I have to remove Show Codes Only view to get my nets back and to get my codebook node back, where it tells me how many responses were coded, out of how many are in my current response pool, and then the percentage. Okay? So Codes Only view kind of gives us that view that we have in Phrase Analyzer. When we first navigate into Phrase Analyzer, it shows our codebooks without nets and in alpha order. So we have that choice, or it's really to display them however we'd like to display them, and then we can code with these. Okay? That is only available in locked mode when the codebook is locked. All right. I'm going to pop over to Appearance before I get to the When Unlocked. And the Appearance is basically just what font and what size of font do you want your codes to appear, your codebook to appear in. Do you want it Arial? Do you want it Impact? Oh my goodness, no you don't. Do you want it in Calibri? Sorry. There we go. So yeah, you get to choose the font of your codebook. So now let's talk about when unlocked. When my codebook is unlocked, there we go. There's only a couple things that I can change. It always shows the codes with borders so that we know, whether or not we're in, I think that's just a visual, so we know we're in unlocked codebook mode more than anything else. We have the option to remove the move handle, okay? And this move handle doesn't work in very large codebooks anyway, so if you're working in a large codebook, you might want to turn off your move handle. Whether we want our info button or not, and whether we want to turn on icon tooltips or not. Then there is a mode, a direct edit mode, that allows us to, you notice when direct edit mode is on, I can actually tab from one to another to edit my codes. Or not tab, I'm sorry, I'm arrowing through my codes. So direct edit mode lets me just click on something and edit it rather than having to drill down into it to edit it. I don't have to right click and choose code properties. Again, that's direct edit mode. All right. I should say a little bit about the move handle since I told you can turn it on and off. The move handle basically allows us to move one code at a time in Ascribe Coder. And the alternative to using the move handle, I've gone over many times, would be to select the code or codes you want to move, right-click where you'd like to move it, and move selection below. All right? Move handle allows us to move one code at a time. Okay. So yes, those are our when unlocked options. Again, by default, the move handle is turned on and direct edit is turned off. Okay. So those are our settings. Where are we? All right. The summary basically allows us to summarize our codebook to a level. If I summarize it to level 1, whoa, what am I doing here? Summarize, oh, there we go. And click efficacy. I'm summarizing to level 1, level 2, whatever. It allows us, when we have large code books, it's kind of a shortcut to get to the different nets and subnets. So you can kind of keep this open and put it wherever you want to put it, and then use it to navigate throughout your code book. Okay? And if you turn on close on click, I believe, yes, it closes it automatically, and you'd have to click here to open it up again. And if you want to expand your entire code book, I believe, is it a control click here? I always forget this one. Yeah, control click on the node, or the little arrow beside the code book, and it will expand it all. So control clicking the arrow beside the code book node will open it all. And again, this summary just allows us to go from nets and subnets, expanding and collapsing as we go. and then Control-click expands it all. All right. So that was the summary. Then we have the Codebook tools, which actually gives us a few other tools for our codebook. One is just our expression list, so it contains all of our expressions. I can't edit my expressions in this dialog box, but what I can do is click on it, and you'll notice that it flashes the code, and then I could come up here to Codebook Properties and change it. Okay, that's my expression list. That can be exported to Excel. Then we have our duplicates list, and there are no duplicates in my codebook right now. I know that because my duplicates list tab is not yellow. Let me just quickly let me add a duplicate. I don't want to edit the properties. I want to insert Laura. There we go. So I'm going to add a duplicate here, and I'm going to just add don't know again, just because that's easy peasy, and hit OK. Okay, so when I have a duplicate, the duplicates list tab is highlighted yellow, and the thing that is duplicated, if it was the input ID, this tab would be yellow. If it was the output ID, that tab would be yellow. But in this case, it's the description. And this, again, will take me to my duplicate codes. There's my first one. There's my second one. And I could decide which one I wanted to keep and delete the other one. Okay? It also checks for duplicate regular expressions, which is kind of nice. All right. And then if I hit Update, it'll clear that, the yellow highlight. Then we have our Usage tab. And the Usage tab, we do have to click on Show Usage so that it can build the table for us. And really, it's just a list of the codes, and with a count, percentage of the total responses, and percentage of coded responses. So that's what we're seeing for each code in our code book. Okay. Again, we can click on it, and it'll take us to that particular code. All right. So those are our codebook tools. And I've talked about these in other sessions, but it's when our codebook is unlocked, we do get 4 more tools in our toolbar. And those are delete, our renumber, our color, our renumber, and our change case. Okay? So I'm going to go over these things, and then we'll actually open the floor for any questions. So again, when my codebook is unlocked, it allows me access to these 4 tools. These 4 tools only work on codes that are selected, or nets that are selected, I should say, nets or codes that are selected. I can select nets or codes by right-clicking at the codebook node and hitting Select Descendants. And if I wanted to select all, I select all. Notice that when I select codes, it tells me how many I have selected up here at the top. 42 selected, right? Okay. If I wanted to color all 42, I could, but maybe what I want to do is right-click, select Descendants, and let's just select the nets that are descendants of efficacy. Okay, so these are all the nets that report to efficacy, and I want to change the color of those. Maybe I want those to be purple. Well, that's not can't see that very well. So let's we'll make them green. There we go. So those guys are all green now. All right, and then I would deselect, and now we can move forward. So that's how we select. You could also select by just clicking on individuals, and notice again that when I select them, these tools light up. I now have 7 selected. All right. I'm going to right-click and deselect. Maybe what I want to do is make my nets uppercase. So now my nets are uppercase. Right-click, deselect all. And maybe I want to make my codes, select my codes, lowercase. There we go. All right. So again, these 4 tools only work on what we've selected, only on those things that are highlighted peach color. Okay. We always know how many we have selected here, and we can select one at a time. We can select just the descendants for this particular net. So that's just those codes that report to this net, so on and so forth. Siblings, and I was asked in one of my previous sessions, what's the difference between a sibling and a descendant? Siblings are peers. So if I select the siblings of the residue subnet, first let me deselect all, and then I'm going to go select the sibling nets. Notice that it selects just those nets that are at the same level that are siblings of residue. Okay, and go ahead and deselect all. And now selecting descendants, those are the codes that report, or even if there were subnets that reported, they're the things that are reporting to this particular net or code. So, oh, I did codes, Laura. Deselect all, right click, select descendants. Yes, codes. So that's the difference between siblings and descendants. All right. Yes, also the renumber, of course, that you have to select. So if you wanted to renumber your whole code book, you would want to select descendants all. If you wanted to renumber your nets with your codes, if not, you would just want to right-click, deselect, or select the descendants codes, and then you could renumber however you wanted to renumber. Okay. And it has now renumbered. Okay. That's pretty much everything that I had planned to cover today. It looks like we do have a few minutes. Julie, did any questions come up while we were going through this?
I've answered the question that came up so far, but if anybody else would like to ask a question, please type it in the chat window.
And I know we've been over these a few times, so I think it's maybe sinking in, or people are getting used to the new way things work. Are there no questions today? Or anything anybody would want to see? All right. Well, if you do, if you find yourself using review responses, the single response coder interface, or edit the code book, let us know why. And we'll see if there's anything that we can do to help you figure it out. And please be using Ascribe Coder as much as you can. And we welcome all feedback. We're really interested in knowing how it's working out for you, or if you're running into anything. So please let us know those things. And I look forward to seeing you in other sessions. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.